Hello everyone, welcome to today's class, and our title today is Webtoon Pop-Up. Let's look at language focus. 1번. The pop-up store was open for just 14 days, but it brought more than 55,000 customers, many of whom stood in line from the crack of dawn, remember 새벽, to make sure they would get in. So we're going to look at the phrase, many of whom. Now we use this phrase to introduce a fact that is true for a lot of people you might have just mentioned. Okay, so basically, it's kind of saying like 이 그룹 중에 많은 사람들은 둥둥둥둥둥둥. So among this group, many of them, example 90%, 80%, many of them do something. So many of whom. So, example, I work with a group of writers and researchers, many of whom speak several languages. 저는 여러 언어를 구사하는 작가와 연구자 그룹과 함께 일하고 있습니다. So I work with a lot of 작가s and 연구자s. And out of those people, many of them speak more than 3 or 4 languages. So many of whom speak several languages. The next example is Thai restaurants in the US have changed their recipes for local customers, many of whom can't eat very spicy food. So 미국의 태국 음식점들은 식당들은 현지 손님들을 위해 조리법을 바꿨는데 이들 중 상당수는 아주 매운 음식을 먹지 못한다. So Thailand is known for very spicy food. And in America, spice is getting more popular. However, many people still don't eat it on a regular basis. And therefore, so Thai restaurants are able to get the Western customers in, or the people who don't eat spicy food, they have changed their recipes to make it less spicy. So many of whom can't eat very spicy food. Okay, let's look at 2번 now. Some people reportedly waited as long as 12 hours. Okay, so we're going to look at as long as. Use as with a quantity to emphasize the quantity is significant or impressive. So, when we say a quantity, as long as, so when you're talking about the length, if we look here, as much as, we're talking about the amount. Anyway, I know a few people who can bench press as much as 200 kilos. So we're talking about the amount. 나는 벤치 프레스를 200kg까지 할 수 있는 사람들을 몇 명 안다. Obviously, there aren't a lot of people out there that can bench press 200 kilograms, but yes, this person seems to know some people who can bench press as much as 200 kilograms. So the next example, the temperature rose as high as 40 degrees Celsius yesterday. So, 어제 기온이 습시 40도까지 올랐습니다. So the temperature rose as high as 40 degrees Celsius yesterday. That is really high. So in this situation, we're talking about the rise in temperature and that it was high rather than low. Okay, now let's look at the language focus quiz. Okay, many of whom. Do you remember that we talked about up here? Many of whom. 이 그룹 중에 많은 사람들은 등등등등. So, is made for Korean consumers. Many who prefer. This is a little bit difficult. Let's say soju is made for Korean consumers. Many who prefer cheap alcohol because it is cheap. So 소주는 산수를 선호하는 한국 소비자들을 위해 만들어졌다. It's very cheap alcohol compared to other strong alcohols. Okay, so my high school graduating class had people, many of whom. What? My high school had a lot of. Had example. Let's say 150 people. Many of whom. Doctors. Obviously, I didn't. My high school graduating class had 150 people, many of whom became doctors. 저희 고등학교 졸업반에는 150명의 사람들이 있었는데 그들 중 많은 사람들이 의사가 되었습니다. That's not true, by the way. 3번. Sometimes continues for as long as. As long as. Remember, as amount has. Let's say size concerts sometimes continue as long as, let's say, 4 hours. So size concert는 때때로 3시간, 4시간 동안 계속 된다. These concerts go for a very long time. And last winter, it got as cold as minus 20 degrees. So, 지난 겨울 날씨가 영하 20도까지 추워졌습니다. Got as cold as hot as long as short as, etc. Alright, now let's move on to the further discussion. 1번. Would you be willing to wait in line for 12 hours for a big event? If not, what would be the maximum time you would be willing to wait? 여러분은 큰 행사를 위해 12시간 동안 줄을 서서 기다릴 의향은 있나요? 그렇지 않다면 여러분이 기꺼이 기다릴 최대 시간은 얼마입니까? No, I would not be willing to wait in line for 12 hours for a big event. That's crazy, in my opinion. How long is the longest time I'd wait? An example would be I have waited 2 hours for a restaurant before. 2 hours is a very, very long time. I probably wouldn't do it anymore, but when I was younger and I had more time to waste, it was easy for me then. Now I'm a little older, it's a bit harder. 2번. Do you agree that Webtoon companies are sitting on a gold mine? Do you remember gold mine? It was way at the start. Sitting on a gold mine, 땅반석에 앉다. So, do you agree that Webtoon companies are sitting on a gold mine, or is it possible that Webtoons will lose popularity soon? Give reasons for your opinion. 여러분은 웹툰 회사들이 금황위에 있다는 것에 동의하나요? 아니면 웹툰이 곧 인기를 잊을 가능성이 있나요? 여러분의 의견에 대한 이유를 대보세요. So, they've been going for quite a long time now, and I do think that Webtoons will have a long life. I think they'll have to maybe change the style of the Webtoon, maybe animate it a little bit more. they get quite creative with how they make the webtoons these days. My wife, like I mentioned before, she watches or scrolls through webtoons quite often, and she seems to enjoy them quite a lot still. And since there's always new content coming out very quickly, I guess it doesn't become very boring and lose popularity. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's class, and I'll see you on the next class.
Crack of dawn.
Crack of dawn.
Market share.
Market share.
Akin.
Akin.
Odds are pretty good.
Odds are pretty good.
Fridge.
Fridge.
Sitting on a gold mine.
Sitting on a gold mine.